Well, here's a story for you. If you want to find out who you are, get yourself a jar of honey and a good sharp knife, and then set out for the forest. And when you get to the edge of that forest, take that jar of honey and hide it at the base of a tree, in among some leaves. And then take that knife and cut off your head. Take your head and place it at the base of that same tree. Look at that tree. Remember it, for you will need to return to it later. And then, leaving the knife there, enter the forest. Spend some time there. And when you have found out who you are, leave the forest, go back to that tree, and pick up your head, and take that honey and smear it over the base of your head and over the stump of your neck. And then put your head back on your body. And then taking the honey and the sharp knife, go back out into the world, because no one can live without a head. I'm Jay Leeming, and this is the Crane Bag Podcast. What is in the bag today? The bag is made from the skin of a crane, feathers and all. At high tide, it is filled with magical things. At low tide, it seems empty. That's what the Irish story says. So this little story is a fun one. I wanted to share with you. It's I found it in a book, but we'll get to that later. Let's not live in the book quite yet. Let's live in the forest. Let's live with the honey and the sharp knife. Amazing, huh? The sweetness, and then the slicing of the head, and the forest. If you want to find out who you are, you have to go into the forest. There's so much in this little story. It's resonant. It's like every word glows, every image glows. I'm here to talk about it. I'm here to guide myself and you into it. But I really just want to camp out in it, in the silences between those images, so I can really feel them. Holding the knife in your hand, holding the honey there, the honey smeared over your own hand, and then smearing it over the stump of your neck and onto the stump of the head. Before that, stashing the head at the bottom of the tree, hiding the honey in among the leaves, and then entering the forest. The story really doesn't say what happens in the forest. That's pretty interesting. It tells us how to go there. It tells us, mostly, how to return. It doesn't really say what happens in there, which is kind of great. It is great. It's wonderful. And then there's the whole business of losing your head. What does it mean? And again, it's not useful, I find, to treat a story as a code that needs to be solved. But it's sort of like a party. You want to invite everyone there. That's one way to put it. Carl Jung would say you want to amplify the story by other connections, associations. We lose our head. To lose your head is to go nuts, to go crazy, right? I lost my head, we say. And when would we say that? On what occasion would we say that? I lost my head. When you did something, what? When you did something you didn't know where you were, what you were doing. You didn't do the right thing, perhaps. I lost my head. When you were overcome with fear or drunkenness or joy. I think all three of those could work. Fear. I lost my head. Fire alarm. Duh! And you just run around in a panic. I lost my head. Drunkenness. You can't, drive the car, walk down the street. I lost my head. Joy. Oh, I lost my head. So ecstatically happy. You're just wild and giddy, and you don't notice where the edge of the roof is. You don't remember your friends' names. It's all just a wild frenzy of joy. Perhaps there are moments when you, dear listener, have lost your head. Or me, I lost my head. I got to think about that. I remember once being in a cabin up north in northern Minnesota, and a bird got in the cabin, but I didn't know that. I opened a door, and suddenly this thing flew at me, and I kind of panicked. I forget what I did. I think I shouted, and I hit the deck. I slid to the floor somehow, and I think the next thing I did was get into another room and close the door right away. I definitely say I panicked. That's the right word there. Did I lose my head? Well, maybe a little. And then I was breathing heavy. I was okay, it's a bird. There's a bird in here. But it just freaked me out. Open the door in the dark and this thing flies at you. Oh man, crazy. So often in life, we seek to lose our heads, right? Through drunkenness, through drugs, psychedelic drugs, perhaps. In more mature and sustainable ways, we might meditate, where you focus on the breath, you focus on a mantra. You lose your head in the sense that your head is filled with thoughts and plans and projects. And the goal, the means of meditation is to let those things happen, but let them come and go, all those thoughts. And do not focus on them, but focus on what you are beyond that. I mean, to me, that's the essential truth of the teachings of yoga and of India in general, is that you are not your thoughts. You are something beyond thought, which is eternal and is at peace and is creative as well. And so by meditating, we turn away from, even that's too strong. By meditating, we let the thoughts come, but we do not identify with them. The thoughts are like a river flowing. And whereas normally we are carried away by that river, in meditation, we strive to stand on the bank, to sit on the bank, and hear the flowing go by, and perceive that it is simply another river. Whereas normally we go through the day, and it's oh, got to go to work. Oh, I'm hungry. Oh, I'm getting a sandwich. Oh, I got to earn some money. Oh, I got to do my laundry. One thing to the next, relentlessly. It never ends. But to meditate is to sit outside of that. Not to stop that river, but to hear its flowing and know that you are something larger than that river, something beyond that river of thought. And so that comes to mind now, because in one sense, that's to lose your head which is filled with plans and thoughts, and to find a deeper self. To find yourself, you got to go crazy. Is that what this little story says? And maybe crazy is our definition in the world, and it is not helpful. It needs to be set aside. We need to get in touch with what? With the body, with the instincts. And we go to the forest. We don't go to the museum or the library. We don't go to the town square. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a story like that? To find out who you are, you must go to the bank. You must open a bank account. You must give them your full name and your social security number. That just popped into my head as the anti-story to this one. And right away, what do we have? We have governments, we have money, we have a certain kind of power, a certain kind, not the only kind, but a certain kind. And we have name and number. That's who you are. Oh, don't you hate that when you get a number? Social security number. All the military movies. What's your name, rank, and serial number? I am not a number. Da, da, da. Well, the head can be talked into thinking that we're numbers, perhaps. The head can be talked into thinking that we are names. But perhaps we're something beyond that. And are we luminous angels climbing into the sky? This story doesn't say yes or no. It just says, cut off your head and go into the forest. That's what you got to do. But there's the wonderful honey, the sweetness at the end. You need that, what the bees make with their slow, determined labor. That is necessary. And then this wonderful statement at the end, well, no one can live without a head. It's beautiful. It's as if we're returning to another stage of consciousness. This story, this small story, is like a journey through multiple, stages of consciousness. No one can live without a head. That's what the story says. But at the beginning, the story was quite clear. You've got to cut your head off. So it's as if those two statements come from entirely different ways of being in the world, modes of consciousness, again, I would say. The first one is like, man, I got to do something. I'm thinking too much, or whatever it is. I'm caught up in my head, so I'm going to cut off my head. And you go into the forest. And then you come out, and that last statement is said squarely in the everyday world, the regular world, which we came from. No one can live without a head. In a way, it's as if it disproves the whole story. This is a ridiculous story. You can't live without a head. But the story begins with a completely different assertion and with a very calm statement that if you want to find out who you are, you've got to cut off your head. And then we get the end of the story. But no one can live without a head. It's as if those two statements at the beginning and the end of the story were made by entirely different people, which I think is the point. Because you go into the forest being one person, and you come out being a different person. You have changed. This is transformation, and that's what this story is all about. So in its small, beautiful way, this little story summons us to a journey and then summons us back. It's as if it washes us off and cleans us up and prepares us to go back out into the world by giving us that truth. No one can live without a head. But no one with a head can find out who they are, the story also says. And I would say that this is a journey which school, college, university, public school doesn't really prepare us for. It's not a journey that most of the world approves of, the official world approves of. And perhaps that's as it should be. I don't know. I got to think about that. Our jobs, we're not about finding out who you are we? We don't give people tools to find out who they are. They have to find them on their own. That's part of what I like about this, is it's set out as sort of a program. Here's the plan. If you want to find out who you are, here's the plan. This is what you do. Go to the forest. Go to the wilderness, the wild places where everything is being itself and nothing is subject to the will of humans. Or if humans are there, there is they are but one will, one being, one force among many, as opposed to the mall or the town square or the palace in fairy tale terms, or the army. You go to the wilderness where things are not necessarily peaceful. They seem peaceful to us, but the trees are fighting with each other for light and the animals eating each other. But everything follows its own law there, which is tremendously wonderful and is not being dominated by us in the way that a parking lot dominates a field, a hill, in the way that a highway dominates the hill that was dynamited to make room for that hill. So you go to the wilderness to find out who you are. And this isn't a journey, like I'm saying. It's not approved of. We're not really told to go on this journey, but we feel it. And so we seek a certain delirium, or we seek the edges, both of those things, which can bring us knowledge of ourselves. Dreams help. Dreams are like the forest, like the wilderness. Drunkenness, drug use, altered states of consciousness. That's why I keep coming back to that, I suppose. And we seek that in unhealthy ways, often because our society lacks structures that do it in healthy ways. What would that look like? It would look like elders, old men, old women, taking the young men and women out into the forest and saying, okay, you're going to find out who you are. You're going to fast for 3 days. You're going to fast for a week and come back. Don't come back till you have a vision. I mean, I don't know what their advice would be, but from what little I know of indigenous cultures of the world, be they Navajo, Lakota, Celtic, wherever, you would be guided on a trip into the wild, a journey into the wild and back to find out who you are. Our society does not see that as a worthy goal. We may say we do, but in the structures around us, no. Earning money, getting by, dominating, conquest, those are important. Finding out who you are? And the Delphic Oracle. Know thyself, it said. The Delphic Oracle, the place you would go to find out about what you don't know, to know what you don't know, would say, know thyself above the temple there, above the entranceway. So we can look to other cultures in the world, and particularly indigenous cultures, for models of how to find out who you are. But we should keep in mind our bias in the West, so-called, towards the individual and towards my journey, because we're at risk kind of thinking that, finding out who you are means finding out what your passion is and what makes you tick, which is definitely a part of it. You go out there and you come back and like, oh, I'm a healer, I'm a doctor, or I'm a musician, or I'm a thinker, I'm a philosopher, or I'm a whatever you are. And that's part of it. But I think what is key here is finding out who you are is also finding out what humans are, what you are in relation to the big picture, where you are, where you stand, what are the answers to the big questions, It's not just you on your little journey, but it's you as defined, limited, and, inspired and encouraged by the larger world around you, the gods and death and time and all those things. So you find out who you are in relation to all of those things. That's why the wild, that's why the wilderness, because it's larger than the human world. And it can teach us who we are, not simply in the human world of banks, stores, universities, auto mechanic garages, whatever, but also who we are in relation to the larger world of space, death, stars, fire, time, gods, however we understand that term. So to truly find out who you are is to get in touch with all of those things. And another guide in this, another path, another example, is the work of Rumi, the 13th century poet from Persia, now Iran. And his poems, wow, I mean, come on, it's filled with this type of stuff. And it's filled with one of the understandings that he and the Sufi tradition has is that union with the divine, knowledge of the divine, of the sacred, only comes through setting aside your head, setting aside that rational part of you. Now, that's a little different from knowing who you are, but it's not unrelated. And your true self, I think Rumi would say, if I can dare to say that, is found when you set aside the practical, rational part of you and you become ecstatic. And there you find union with the divine. And there you realize what you really are, which is this luminous, joyful spark, which is, which you are. Here, for example, is a poem. This is poem number 89, translated by A.J. Arbery, Mystical Poems of Rumi. We have become drunk, and our heart has departed. It has fled from us. Whither has it gone? When it saw that the chain of reason was broken, immediately my heart took to flight. It will not have gone to any other place. It has departed to the seclusion of God. Seek it not in the house, for it is of the air. It is a bird of the air, and has gone into the air. It is the white falcon of the emperor. It has taken flight and departed to the emperor. I'll give that to you again. So the emperor being Allah, being the divine one, God, of course, the Allah, the divine one. We have become drunk, and our hearts have departed. They have fled from us. Whither have they gone? When my heart saw that the chain of reason was broken, immediately my heart took to flight. My heart will not have gone to any other place. It is departed to the seclusion of God. Seek it not in the house, for it is of the air. It is a bird of the air, and is gone into the air. It is the white falcon of the emperor. It has taken flight, and departed to the emperor. So well then, he's talking about his heart, not his head, but still there's a certain ecstatic nature there. Seek it not in the house, for it is of the air, the wild air. Here's another one, a little clunkier translation, a real short one. Here we go. Don't come to me without the tambourine, for I am feasting. Get up and play the drum, for I am the ecstatic one. I am drunk, but I'm not drunk from the wine of grapes. I'm far away from all thought. I took this little poem and made it into a little song. Come and celebrate with us, but you must bring a drum. The time to sing and dance is here, for victory has come. All our drunkenness didn't start with any wine. All the thoughts there are to think, we've left them far behind. So I wouldn't presume to call that a translation. It's a version, if anything. It's a chunk of something. It's a take on Rumi. And I'll give it to you again in 1 second here. But I wanted to say, where the heck did I find this story? Well, kind of an obscure place. It's from a book called Alchemy and Psychotherapy, edited by Dale Mathers, published by Routledge over there in the UK. And it had this story in the beginning there. And it's in a little essay written by a fellow named Rabbi David L. Freeman. And he refers to this little story as an old French alchemical maxim. An old French alchemical maxim. Whoa, what does that mean? Well, and there's no note. I mean, there's notes in the book, but there's not one for that story, which is deeply annoying. No, well, it's just the way it is. I can't find a source for that story. Love it, though I do, though I will keep looking. But a French alchemical maxim, what little I know of alchemy is that it's all about the process, and transformation is the way forward in alchemy. You grow, you change. The gold is created out of the lead through transformation. It's an art that works by metaphor and focuses on transformation. And so folks like that, who were steeped in that tradition, would be good folks to go to when we're talking about transformation. How do you find out who you are? How do you become what you really are? Become yourself. That's what Krishna says to Yudhishthira in the Mahabharata. Become yourself. Resist that which resists in you. Become yourself, he says. Victory Thank you for joining me, and take care.